ABC, good morning. This is Glen Kellaway from the basement. This is a contest entry for Davis Winchester. I just discovered this channel through Rachel's entry into this contest. I was really intrigued by the title of the contest, Your Life in Music. Who doesn't like talking about that? So I checked out the channel, Davis Winchester. I'm not sure if your name is Davis or not, so excuse me, man, if I'm getting that wrong because we don't know each other yet. You are a self-professed nerd, which is cool. It sounds like when I watched your video, you've had quite a colorful past, and it looks like you got your shit together pretty good now, man. You're on the right track, which is cool. Yeah, so we're going to talk about our life in terms of music. So really, when I was a little kid, my mom was big into Broadway shows and stuff like that. We had all the soundtrack stuff in the house, My Fair Lady and Sound of Music and all that. But that it was just on. I didn't have a passion for it, and really don't care for it too much today, actually. So I'm going to start with '64, when the Beatles invaded North America. Excuse me. So the first record I'm going to show is with the Beatles. Now, being a Canadian boy, our album wasn't called With the Beatles. It was Beatlemania with the Beatles, and had a few different songs on it than the original UK version. But this is the only one I've got for now. I'm trying to get a complete catalog of the North American releases. I'm getting there. Anyway, important album for me. I mean, obviously opened my eyes. When I talk about the Beatles, since I'm only going to show a few records here, you could go on all day. I also want to include all the British Invasion bands. I love Jerry and the Pacemakers and Freddie and the Dreamers and Dave Clark 5, Peter and Gordon, the Stones, of course, are one of my favorite bands of all time. So I'm going to include lump them all in together with the Beatles. So for, from 64 to 66, 67, it was just Beatles crazy. I became a big fan of the Monkees when that show came out in '66, and it was actually my first rock concert was the Monkees at Maple Leaf Gardens in 1967. So then music got a bit heavier, and we started to get into stuff like Jimi Hendrix, Cream, Zeppelin. Name them. There's a million of them. All great bands. I just loved all that classic rock stuff. Just went crazy on it. Also did my fair share of experimentation, but never to the point of addiction, thank God. It was all recreational. I was pretty lucky, even being as stupid as I was. So I wanted to show Jimi Hendrix as kind of the, to focus on all that kind of music, Cream and whatever else. I had a friend whose family was big on folk music, and they got me into folk music pretty early, and Bob Dylan. So Bob Dylan's actually my second favorite artist of all time. So sometime in I would say 66, 67, I was, before then, because like a Rolling Stone, obviously. So sometime in the mid-60s, I got introduced to Bob Dylan, freewheeling, then ended up with Highway 61 and Blonde on Blonde, and bringing it all back home. And like I said, Dylan's my second favorite artist, so very important in my life, Bob Dylan. From there, the San Francisco psychedelic scene, a huge fan of that Summer of Love stuff. Jefferson Airplane were my favorite at the time. Surrealistic Pillow, one of the top 10 albums of all time, as far as I'm concerned. I think it ranked 11 on my list, actually, but it's up there. This was their second album after Bathing at Baxter's. Loved Quicksilver, Country Joe and the Fish. Just loved all those bands. Oddly enough, in the late '60s, the band I didn't really pay attention to was the Grateful Dead. but we'll get to them later. So that's kind of my psychedelic side. In the early 70s, I hated commercial music and top 40 radio. Matt Davis, the Carpenters, it was all so soft and cuddly, and oh man, I don't like that era of music at all. There was still a few good songs mixed in, but from that era on, and then we got Saturday Night Fever and Bee Gees' Main Course, and it went into disco, and it was just like radio lost me. I didn't know where to go. Somehow I ended up turning to some of the Southern rock bands. My two favorite, Charlie Daniels Band, the Marshall Tucker Band. So I was heavy into that kind of music in the early 70s. Then something hit me, bluegrass music. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the banjo. Started playing the banjo in probably around 1975. I think I got my first banjo. And just went bluegrass crazy for many, many years, and still am a huge fan and still play the banjo to this day, although not as much as I used to. My plan is to start getting back into it again. So, I mean, John Hartford, steam-powered aerial plane, one of the great essential roots, bluegrassy albums ever. If you ever see this album, Steam Powered Aerial Plane, you must have it. It's an incredible album. At the time, I guess, Earl Scruggs. I bought the Earl Scruggs book to learn how to play the banjo. Great instructional book, kind of a classic one. So Earl's like a major influence. And then I was introduced to my musical hero, one of them anyway, Bela Fleck, the great Bela Fleck, who's a genius musician. Bela plays the 5-string banjo, but I'm pretty sure Bela can play any instrument he wants on the planet. He does jazz, he does bluegrass, he does classical, he's just an incredible, incredible musician. If you don't know Bela Fleck, look him up on YouTube and watch some of his work. He is absolutely amazing. So Bela's been a hero of mine since the late 70s and remains so to this day. The last band I want to mention is the Grateful Dead. I didn't get into the Grateful Dead in the late 60s, and I saw them in 1970 at Festival Express, and still wasn't like a huge Dead fan. I was aware of some songs, especially when Working Man's Dead and American Beauty came out. Fire on the Mountain, and or not Fire on the Mountain, Friend of the Devil, songs like that, Casey Jones. But sometime in the late 70s, 1980 maybe, something like that, something triggered in my head. I think I was hearing some solo Jerry Garcia stuff that got me, and I started going back, and I'm a huge Deadhead. I just love them. The Grateful Dead. This is a live set, 15 CDs from June 1976 that just came out. It's for sale now on dead.net if anybody's interested, for like $145. Incredible set, incredible performances. So I wanted to mention the Grateful Dead last. Jerry Garcia is like a hero of mine. Anyway, that's kind of my life in music. There's a lot of bands I could mention. The prog rock side I never got into. Yes, and Tull, Pink Floyd, if you want to include them in there. I mean, King Crimson. I'm a huge King Crimson fan. Zappa. There's just so many. Life in music. You could go on for 24 hours this video, so I'm going to cut it short there. Davis, your video says 100 and subscribers, but I think you have like 350 or something. You seem like a really cool guy, and I'm really interested in seeing some more of your videos. Good luck to you on your continuing education, and I hope you'll watch my channel and consider me a nerd along with yourself. Take care, everyone.